His name became a synonym for brutality. A man whose regime took hundreds of thousands of lives. A man surrounded by legends, from unspeakable cruelty to accusations of cannibalism. But who was he really? How did he rise to power? And what happened on his final day as ruler? This is the story of the rise, terror, and fall of one of the most controversial tyrants of the 20th century. Idi Amin was born around 1925 in northern Uganda in the Kakwa tribe. He grew up without a father in deep poverty. From an early age, he stood out for his immense physical strength and explosive temper. In 1946, he joined the King's African Rifles, the British colonial forces. There he learned discipline, weapons, and tactics, and it was there that the first signs of his cruelty began to show. The British valued his strength, but feared his unpredictability. At that time, no one could imagine that this tall, smiling soldier would one day become a blood-soaked dictator. After Uganda gained independence, Amin quickly rose through the military ranks. By 1965, he had become one of the key military figures in the country. He was involved in smuggling gold and ivory, maintained his own circle of loyal soldiers, and sought absolute power. Prime Minister Milton Obote saw him as a threat, but too late. Amin had already gained the army's support. In January 1971, while Obote was in Singapore, Amin staged a military coup. Uganda awoke with a new leader, a general who promised order but unleashed chaos. At first, Amin tried to appear as a benevolent leader. He visited villages, danced with people, and held spectacular military parades. The world saw him as a smiling giant, but behind this facade grew a dangerous paranoia. He dissolved parliament, abolished the Constitution, and fully subordinated the army and security services to his will. By 1972, mass arrests, disappearances, and killings of political opponents had begun. Historians estimate that in the first 2 years alone, up to 80,000 people were killed. From 1973 to 1977, Uganda became a state of fear. Amin eliminated nearly every officer suspected of disloyalty. Bodies began to appear on the streets. People vanished at night without a trace. It is estimated that Amin's regime killed up to 300,000 citizens. Eyewitness reports described torture, executions without trial, and overcrowded prisons. There was no law, no freedom, only the dictator's will. Amin indulged in luxury, expensive cars, palaces, banquets, while the nation starved. He called himself the last king of Scotland, conqueror of the British Empire, and believed he was invincible. In 1972, Amin made one of his most destructive decisions. He expelled nearly 60,000 Asians who controlled trade, finance, and business in Uganda. Their property was given to military officers who had no experience in managing businesses. The economy collapsed. Shops emptied, inflation skyrocketed, and hunger spread across the country. Uganda became isolated, impoverished, and entirely reliant on military force.
Amin was often accused of cannibalism. When asked by a journalist, he once replied, "I don't eat people, although human flesh is too salty." Most historians view these stories as exaggerations or propaganda, yet the facts of torture and violence are undeniable. The legend of the Cannibal of Uganda became part of his terrifying image, but the historical reality is far more complex.
In 1978, Amin made a fatal mistake. He invaded Tanzania, hoping to strengthen his power. But the Tanzanian army was far stronger than expected. Ugandan rebels joined them. The war quickly turned into a disaster for Uganda. Kampala fell on April 11, 1979. Amin fled, leaving the country in chaos.
Amin's downfall was swift. Fleeing first to Libya and then to Saudi Arabia, he lost everything: power, control, and the loyalty of his army. His palaces were looted, Uganda fell back into political struggle, and the memory of his dictatorship became a deep national scar.
Amin lived in Saudi Arabia for nearly 25 years. He led a quiet, isolated life, surrounded by guards and far from his homeland. He never expressed remorse. He claimed he had done everything for the good of the people. Amin died in 2003 in a Jeddah hospital from kidney failure. Thus ended the life of one of the most brutal leaders of the 20th century. The story of Idi Amin is a warning. How a man with strength and charisma, but without morality or restraint, can destroy an entire nation. His regime became a national tragedy, but remembering it is essential so that such horror is never repeated. Understanding the past is the first step toward a better future.